our kickoff for our Barbados, Kenya Safari Oceans Business Alliance. So we just want to invite you to take your seats this morning. Everyone who's on the outside that needs to be in the inside, can please come in. Thank you. Okay. Okay, let us just stand for the national anthem of Barbados and Kenya. Thank you. You may be seated. Thank you. To establish protocol, I want to welcome Ambassador Alex MacDonald, our High Commissioner to Kenya from Barbados. Also on social platform, coming via Zoom, is our Honorable Ronald Toppin, Minister of International Business and Industry for Barbados. We also want to honor Honorable Betty C. Mina, Minister of Industrialization, Trade and Industry and Trade and Enterprise, the Republic of Kenya, the Governor of the Central Bank of Barbados, Mr. Cleveson Haynes, and the Governor of the Central Bank of Kenya, Dr. Patrick N. Nguru. So, ladies and gentlemen, the protocol being established, we want to invite Ambassador Johnson Wiru to introduce our Kenyan delegation this morning. Okay.
Good morning, everybody. On behalf of the Kenya delegation and on behalf of the business executives from the Republic of Kenya, I would wish to, first of all, introduce myself and request the Director of Ceremonies to confirm if we have a roving mic. But the room is quite small, I believe we can hear each other. My name is Ambassador Johnson Weru. I'm the Principal Secretary of Trade and Enterprise Development of the Republic of Kenya. I'm waiting for the minister to arrive, but if she doesn't, I'll fill in the space. So while we do that, I'll request the Kenya delegation to introduce themselves, starting with the Governor of the Central Bank. Governor, you have the floor.
Good morning, okay, Governor.
Thank you very much. The rest of the delegations, please introduce yourselves. President of the Chamber.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Richard Ilasia, Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry President, and also the chair of the Business Region Private Sector Forum.
The Vice Chair of the Kenya Private Sector Alliance, he's in the next room. He'll join us shortly. We will then go to the regulators who are here with us. Do we have a representative from the Kenya Bureau of Standards?
Yes.
Please introduce yourself.
Thank you very much.
Kenya Investment Authority. Kenya Plant Health Inspectorate Service.
Good morning. My name is Theophilus Mutui, Managing Director, Kenya Plant Health Inspectorate.
Thank you very much. Kenya Tourism Board. We now go to the financial sector, the representative of Kenya Commercial Bank. Maybe they're on the way. Equity Bank. They're on the way. Fintech companies, Kuala Limited.
Good morning. Cynthia Wandia, co-founder and CEO at Quar Limited. Thank you.
Safaricom Limited.
Good morning, everyone. Sitolo Pekoit, Safaricom, and MD M-Pesa. Thank you.
Lami Limited. Lami. Then other companies, Kenya Airways. Do you have Kenya Ports Authority? Thank you very much, Barozi. Kenjan.
My name is Dr. John Mudani, Finance and ICT Director, Kenjan.
Oil and gas, we have OML Africa Limited.
Good morning, everybody. All protocols observed. James Mbote, Managing Director, OML Africa Logistics. Thank you.
advocacy and publicity, we have Magnet Ventures Limited. He's on the way. We have logistics and shipping, express shipping and logistics, East Africa. He's on the way. Do we have BOC gases? BOC gases, former East African Oxygen. Semiconductors Limited.
Good morning, everybody. Chief Executive Officer Anthony Githinji. Good morning, everybody. Chief Executive Officer Anthony Githinji here with my Corporate Affairs Director, Ms. Joyce Joroge. Pleasure to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Is there any other Kenyan company that at the back there?
Hello, I'm Sam Akome, Chief Commercial Officer for KCB Bank Group, and we are here with Angela Murigi, who is our Director of Digital Financial Services.
Thank you very much, KCB. Has Equity Bank arrived? Equity Bank? Okay, they will join us later. Director of Ceremonies. That is a part of the Kenya delegation attending this business forum. A bit of the introduction is in the bulletin that we jointly produced in terms of what each of these companies do, why they are here, and what they are looking for. I give you back the floor, sir.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. And welcome to all of our delegation, all the way from Kenya. We thank you for coming to our beautiful island, and we look forward to having some enriched business and commercial activity between our two nations. As you know, we have named this particular event the Safari Oceans Business Alliance, and the reason why we have done that is because we know that the Safari experience is a very strong brand across the globe. And therefore, we also know that Barbados is known as well for its oceans. So by putting these two brand elements together, we believe that we should see some strong commercial ideas, innovations coming out of this forum as we go forward. But as we proceed, I just want to introduce our High Commissioner to Kenya, Ambassador Alex McDonald. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO. Excellencies all, ministers, leaders of government, heads of the central banks of our two nations, dignitaries, Rafiki. I'm going to throw in a few words. Having been in Kenya for 3 months, I feel as though I am part of you, so I can really say ni sakuno suri sana. So, and I'm going to keep on going with that. Now, thank you. It's difficult. My job is to welcome you. We are here at our first Barbados-Kenya Business Alliance. And for many people, when they're here for the first of anything, they don't recognize the importance of being at the first one. Forever and ever, as long as our relationship lasts, which I hope will be a long time, only a very few of us will be able to say that we were here at the first one. And maybe at the 40th anniversary, we'll all sit down and say to each other, you remember the first one that we had? When we had to wear masks and we had to sit socially distanced and so on? Well, those were the days, huh? When we were so smart then because of the strength of our relationship. With our shared values and our common interests and backgrounds, and Kenya and Barbados do have very, very strong common interests and very, very similar backgrounds. The Kenyans, I think, are the Bajans of the African continent. No, I've only been there for three months. I may be proven wrong, but our values are very similar. We both want to do well. We want to do well personally, and we want to do well for our nation. And I think the fusing of those aims are the things that will see us on the common ground that we have all built on. When I opened the embassy that we had on September the 1st, the welcome that our Kenyan brothers and sisters gave us was very, very warm. And I hope that in the coming days and in the days that you've been here, that you will feel the warmth of our welcome to you, and that you will see the sincerity of our wish that we can do business together. Do not be fooled by our small size. Do not be fooled by our small size, because we are little but we are mighty. And I think that you will soon get to understand that we really do want and mean well. So it is my deep pleasure to reciprocate the welcome that you gave me and our delegation, our mission, and to in some way reciprocate by showing you the sincerity of our intentions by doing good business together. You will hear many things that we can do, but the most important thing that you can do is to immerse yourself into our business, immerse yourself into the way of our life. Come down frequently. And I will never, ever tell you, thank you for making the long journey. I was on safari in Kenya, and the safari lasted 15 hours. The same as a flight from here. So the safari ocean, and if you go on a good fishing trip, the fishing trip is going to take you 18 hours. So it's just a safari or a fishing trip away. So if you think about it in that way, and as we make our travel easier between each other, it's just a safari away. We are opening the doors, sowing the seed, raising the floor for you. It is for you to plant the crops that will bear you fruit. So, to you, Caribou, from us, welcome, and thank you for making that journey. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Ambassador. The ambassador will be heading next door to the Joint Commission, where the other leaders and delegation are addressing some serious government issues. So we are expected on this side to discuss some serious business opportunities and to look at how we can build out each other's economy and strengthen each other's economy in a very strategic way. So as we proceed, I would like to now introduce our Minister, Honorable Ronald Toppin, Minister of International Business and Industry, to address the delegation on behalf of our ministry. And then following that, we will make a few adjustments to the program. So over to the multimedia team, our Minister, the Honorable Ronald Toppin. Thank you.
Republic of Kenya and Barbados. Let me begin by thanking the organizers of this esteemed forum for engineering this transatlantic connection, and I extend a warm and hearty welcome to our partners from Kenya, including government leaders and private sector agencies and associations. I also want to acknowledge the business leaders and entrepreneurs from Barbados who have committed to work on building this alliance with our partners in Kenya. When I consider what will take place in this space over the next few days, I am reminded of that very popular proverb, which has been fittingly attributed to Africa, which says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. It is this desire to go beyond the diplomatic milestones we have attained thus far that has brought our distinguished Kenyan delegation almost 11,000 kilometers to our shores and has drawn some of Barbados' most nimble and proactive businesses to this forum here today. I believe our presence here is a clear indication that we all want to go far, and through the partnership that will be forged in the days ahead, and through a renewed appreciation for those things that bind us together, namely our common heritage and our shared vision for a sustainable future. In 2019, Barbados and Kenya took a giant step in deepening the bilateral ties between our two countries with the meeting of President Kenyatta and Prime Minister Motley and the signing of an MOU establishing a joint commission for cooperation. It was agreed back then that we would work together in the areas of renewable energy, tourism, health, education, blue economy, information and communication technology, sports, culture, trade, and investment. The establishment of Barbados' High Commission office in Nairobi is further evidence of the deep connection being forged between our two countries. The Ministry of International Business and Industry is responsible for the negotiation of a double taxation agreement and a bilateral investment treaty with Kenya. These instruments are key elements of the overarching framework needed to promote trade and investment between both countries. You would recall that Prime Minister, the Honorable Mayor Motley, and the President of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta, agreed to Barbados and Kenya entering into a tax treaty during their talks on the President's official visit to Barbados in August 2019. In keeping with that commitment, the negotiations were held during the period September 30 to October 4, 2019 in Bridgetown, Barbados. And I'm pleased to inform those who may not be aware today that the double taxation agreement was signed on December 11, 2019. In relation to the bilateral investment treaty, a Barbados delegation traveled to Kenya and negotiated during the period November 18 to 22, 2019. It should be noted that the bilateral investment treaty was initialed and agreed to in principle with an agreement to bring the outstanding issues to consensus and conclusion. Indeed, this partnership between Kenya and Barbados is one that is held dear by both countries, and therefore the future for cooperation and mutual development is like a bright ray of sunshine piercing the economic clouds that we face. The fact that we have not allowed the worst pandemic in modern times to keep us from solidifying this alliance is testament to the determination and interest that we bring to the table this morning. With a population of 46 million, Kenya presents a wealth of opportunities for Barbadian producers, not only as a market for our goods and services, but also as a source of expertise and commercial endeavors. There is growing interest in franchising and offshore manufacturing by Barbadian investors and businesses seeking to expand their global footprint across Africa. As East Africa's hub for communication, transport, and financial services, as well as being one of Africa's leading economies, Kenya provides the long anticipated gateway to Africa, whether it be for travel or trade. Reciprocally, Kenya is fast becoming the epicenter of technology in Africa, and there is much that we can learn from Kenya through this collaboration. We have also seen remarkable growth in new areas across Africa, in particular with telecom startups, clean tech companies, and silicon savannas, due in large measure to the bold leadership and entrepreneurial spirit of the African people. At the bilateral level, our current trade totals just 0.2 million US dollars over the last 5 years. But the upside to this is that there is significant untapped potential within our respective economies. A key deliverable within this Safari Ocean Business Alliance is to generate at least 50 million US dollars in trade from products and services between the two markets by 2025 in the areas of tourism, telecommunications and digitization, finance and investment, renewable energy and offshore oil and gas opportunities, biotechnology, and biotrade and exports. The brand of leadership and the companies participating in this forum gives us assurance that this is quite possible. Despite the distance between our shores, we can be strategic and innovative in our approaches and partnerships, utilizing the platforms of advancing technology to enhance the international business and financial landscape. Indeed, Barbados sees the partnership with Kenya as an important step in Barbados's global thrust to be the place to live and work. The push to expand our trade in goods and services over the next 4 years should lead to greater opportunities within the Kenyan market for some of this island's best products and services, including our world-renowned rums, which command a presence in many international markets. Our healthcare services, in particular our eye care and fertility services, neurological and cardiac services, medical devices, including optical lenses, renewable energy solutions, education, training and consultancy services, labels, and IT services are all areas in which we can do business in pursuit of that 50 million US dollar target. We are also looking to develop new sources of economic growth with greater emphasis on our ocean economy and life science investments. We believe that a number of solutions for the challenges we face lie in our waters. We believe, in addition to the tremendous benefits from coastal solar energy and wave energy, blue technology is opening up marine resources to obtain mariculture, cosmetics, and healthcare products, among others. In 2020, the global sea moss trade was estimated at US $84.3 billion, according to ITC trade data. Indications are that this market will exceed US $92 billion by 2025. So as I conclude my welcoming remarks, we may have limited natural resources in Barbados, but we are replete with talented Barbadians at home and across the globe who imagine the world not as it is, but as it can be. Even as we meet here today, we have young Barbadians who are unleashing their creativity to solve some of our most urgent national problems. We have businesses that are recalibrating their global readiness, looking for opportunities in the most unusual places and adopting new business models that are more effective and dynamic. We are more than ready to do business with Africa, and in particular with Kenya. The partnerships we are building this week are part of government's effort to build a diversified, resilient economy that can withstand even unforeseen shocks. Despite all the technological advancements made within recent years, we do not yet have a looking glass through which we can spy into the future, and so we do not know what is the next life-altering disruption that may come our way. What we do know is that resilience cannot be achieved without strong partnerships and a firm commitment to a shared vision. And that is what we will be doing over the next few days. The COVID-19 pandemic has dominated our lives for the last 2 years. It has disrupted almost every aspect of trade and business and threatens to delay the future prosperity we envisioned for our countries not so long ago. But what it has also revealed is a massive array of opportunities we did not see before the pandemic. It has magnified the cracks in our supply chains and the vulnerabilities in our trading arrangements and business practices. But it has also opened up new market spaces not previously accessible. And it has stamped an air of urgency on everything we do. Every opportunity we get to connect over the next 4 days will be crucial. Great sacrifices have been made for the reality of today. So let us take advantage of these discussions, one-on-one meetings, and even our social engagements. Let us aim to maximize every opportunity and build bridges that will stand for generations to come. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and I thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister, for that inspiring message. And we hope that that message would really give us a proper framework of what we need to do as we go through the next 2 days and work together to build and to deliver that target of at least 50 million US in trade. So we really want to thank our minister for that message just now. So as we proceed, just want to do some housekeeping. One, as you would know, we're in the context of COVID-19. So we would like each person to practice the protocols in its full. Especially right now, we're doing our proper social distancing, but also consistently wearing a mask unless you're at the mic and you're speaking on behalf of your organization. So full protocols in effect going forward. So thank you. And also for those who may be wondering where are the Barbadian business people, we have an overflow room. So just to give you a sense, we know that we have about 25 Kenyans here, but just around 100 Barbadian businessmen and women have been contacted so that we can have, yes, please. So you should have, I told somebody yesterday, we're sending these Kenyans back home tired. I had the opportunity of being in Kenya, and I saw how you train for marathons. So we are going to have a business marathon today, okay? So right now what we would like to do is to introduce the remarks. Instead of the remarks, let's go to a video just to give you a taste of what Kenya has to offer for those who are in the overflow room, to give you some of the investment opportunities that they will have there. They will speak to them a lot more. But you know that us from the Caribbean, we can venture out into these parts of the world, and we can also invest in construction projects in Kenya. We can go and build some hotels in Kenya, introduce some of our brands in Kenya. So just a few ideas. So I'd just like us to just share that video about investment opportunities in Kenya. And while that video is going on, I just want to confirm that Minister Honorable Betty Mina, representative, would be speaking on her behalf directly after that video has played. Okay, thank you very much.
To Kenya, the land of endless possibilities. Reasons why to invest in Kenya. Strategic location as a regional financial, communication and transportation hub. While Kenya is strategically located as a gateway to East and Central Africa, with a border to the Indian Ocean, Kenya is well suited as a production and distribution base to service Africa, Europe, USA, the Middle East, Asia, and other Indian Ocean islands. Kenya has international airports that function as an effective air hub between Africa, Europe, and Asia. Kenya has a relatively well-developed physical infrastructural facilities, including several international airports led by JKIA, an intensive road and rail network, modern deep-sea ports at Mombasa and Lamu capable of handling bulk and other containerized cargo, inland ports, an expanding liberalized energy sector, and digital telecommunication network. While Kenya is the most developed economy in East and Central Africa, with a nominal gross domestic product of $100 billion as of 2019. Kenya's membership to regional economic blocs, coupled with her strategic geographic position, makes the country the gateway to the huge East African Community Market, the Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa, COMESA, Africa Continental Free Trade Area, AGOA to USA and EPA to EU. Pursues a mixed economy, and her dynamic and diversified private sector comprises numerous small-scale local enterprises, medium-sized businesses, and multinational companies. Kenya enjoys stable macroeconomic and political environment. The government operates sound macroeconomic policies that promote growth by providing a more secure environment for private sector investment decisions. Qualified professional staff can be hired at reasonable pay scales in all occupations and at all levels of expertise. Tourism is one of Kenya's most important industries and has strong linkages with transport, food production, retail and entertainment. Investors will find living and working in Kenya a pleasant experience. The country has abundance in excellent accommodation, shopping, education, healthcare and recreational facilities, which will provide a high quality of life for both the investor and their family.
Amidst COVID, we have seen Kenya innovate towards opening the economy up to new opportunities. Kenya is teaming up with opportunities from different sectors, enhancing manufacturing, food security and nutrition, universal health coverage, affordable housing, agriculture, energy, telecommunications.
Okay, thank you very much for that presentation from Kenya. It looks like an exciting place, but not just look, but it also feels like an exciting place. When I've been in Kenya, I remember jumping with the Maasais, and we were trying to see who can out-jump each other. Yes, it was a fantastic time. I really enjoyed the experience in Kenya and definitely will be going back again. So it's a lovely nation and lovely, kind, pleasant people across. It reminds me of Barbados, a bigger version of Barbados, actually. Yes. So right now we have the Honorable Betty C. Mina, Minister of Industrialization, Trade, and Enterprise from the Republic of Kenya with us. So I just want to introduce Ambassador Johnson Riru to formally introduce her as she comes to share her presentation with us this morning. Okay, thank you.
Good morning once again. Director of Ceremonies, thank you very much. I've been asked to introduce Honorable Betty Maina, who happens to be my boss. And I believe, as per the program, it's just a few minutes late, Honorable Ministers. But out of other commitments, we have, during the visit of President Kenyatta, we have this to and fro between ministers in the Joint Commission for Cooperation and now the Business Forum. But all is well. Betty Maina is the current Minister of Industrialization, Trade and Enterprise Development. She's in charge of industrialization and trade. Before that, she was the Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Environment and Forestry. And prior to that, she was the Principal Secretary in a number of ministries, including industrialization itself, the East African Community. She has a very wide and checkered experience in the private sector. For a very long time, she served as the Chief Executive Officer of one of the business membership organizations dealing with manufacturing, the Kenya Association of Manufacturers. Before that, she was a research executive at the Institute of Economic Affairs. Honorable Betty Maina holds a master's degree and a bachelor's degree, and she has, at the moment, been the minister in charge for close to 1.5 hours. 1.5 years, sorry, not 1.5 hours, 1.5 years, together with me. The challenge that we have is that we are here, Honorable Minister, to bridge the Caribbean and Africa. We have the challenge of turning that challenge into an opportunity. And I'll invite you to address this business forum. And later on, in the afternoon, the Prime Minister of this beautiful island and President Kenyatta will come to agree and to consider what we'll have discussed. So, Honorable Ministers, I give you the floor. I want to assure these delegates that if you don't see us in the afternoon, it's because we'll be in another function, but our colleagues in the delegation will stand in for us. So, Honorable Minister, welcome and give your remarks.
Good morning. What is a greeting in Barbados? So in Bajan, in greeting, what's a greeting? Buba? What's going on? Okay, that's a nice one. In Kenya, we'll probably have you must have learned Jambo and Habari Gani, or habari yako, those phrases. But I'm hoping, as a result of a visit such as this, we will actually learn each other's greetings and common phrases, because it is the intention of all of us to really deepen our connections between Africa and the Caribbean. And I'm very happy that both Barbados and Kenya are choosing to pioneer that journey of friendships and other relationships. I'm glad to be here this morning. Sorry that I came a little bit late, but we are taking part in many activities during this week, but we are also very excited that even later on, our principals will be able to join you to demonstrate the real interest in deepening relationships between ourselves. We appreciated your visit or the visit of the Prime Minister and several of you to our country a few years ago, and I hope that there will be more. Some of the business executives here should probably take it upon themselves to ensure that it is quicker to travel between Barbados and Kenya as a way of, deepening this conversation. And I know that there's somebody from Kenya Airways who must have, we would hope that they're inspired, but if they are not, we can now start to tell them, can you look for a route from Kenya to Barbados? In case you missed the reason why you are invited, I can make it very, very clear. Can you look for a route from Kenya to Barbados? And given the experience you had when traveling, it's actually not that difficult to try and hop from Dakar or from Accra to the Caribbean. I went from Nairobi to Doha, New York, and got here 30 hours later and without my luggage. But I'm certain that if it was a direct flight, those sort of incidences, it wouldn't take more than 16, 17 hours, and I'm certain people's luggage would probably get along with them. So it's really a great honor for us to just be able to make this acquaintance and to be able to develop the relationships. We're very impressed by your tourism products. As we took the catamaran sailing yesterday, we wondered, we have a large coastline. Why don't we even do stuff like this? So I'm hoping the business executives that were present would be inspired to also think of other such offerings. We partnered together with the Blue Economy Conference, but you come here and you feel we've not exploited our blue economy as much as we would have liked to. So I think these sort of business interactions will bring a lot of inspiration. You have said you're impressed by our fintechs and how we're using technology for both government services and other services, and I'm certain that the teams that were behind that success of fintech in Kenya led. Water, okay, fine. It's okay, thank you very much. We can also share their experiences on how they created the regulatory framework that has enabled us to really leapfrog in terms of service delivery. But I'm also hoping that from these interactions we can work together. We are all very enamored by technology and the Internet of Things. And as mentioned, I used to work for the Manufacturing Association. But one of the sad things, I don't know whether you've made better progress than us, is that we talk about the Internet of Things, but we don't actually make the things for the Internet of Things. We import them a lot, and yet all these young people are capable of doing it. So I'm hoping we can also jointly partner in producing goods that would build up our own security and enable us to keep a lot of value in our countries in terms of industrial products. I missed the presentation, but if it was a presentation on Kenya, you have a sense of the breadth of our economy, the activities, whether mostly agriculture and industry, and of course we're all big on services right now. So there's lots of room for collaboration, and therefore we invite our colleagues from Kenya who I believe they've been introduced. I know they're in the program, but the business people that come from the financial services, come from infrastructure, come from fintech, I hope that they're really able to have good conversations during this forum. So I want to thank you very much for the invitation and for hosting this forum. Our president has made it a principal part of the agenda in any of his visits to have the captains of industry and have business forums. And that's the reason. I mean, the relationships really are shaped by our commercial relationships. And I'm glad that our leaders are prioritizing these business forums during their visits and even facilitating people to get here. So let's honor them by making deals and building up these commercial relationships. And hopefully the next forum will be in Kenya when we celebrate the birth and the consummation of the relationships that have built from this forum. So asante sana, karibu Kenya, and really enjoying my time in Barbados. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Minister, for such a stirring presentation. And we look forward to doing significant business with Kenya. We've noted that Kenya is approaching a $100 billion economy. So we're looking forward to partaking in that $100 billion economy. So as we speak about economies, we are going to now hear from both governors of both central banks, our beloved Minister Cleveland Haynes, Governor of Central Bank of Barbados, and also the Governor of the Central Bank, Dr. Patrick N. Nkrumah, Governor of Central Bank of Kenya. Now, we have put together a booklet, Safari Ocean booklet, with all of the profiles of each of the speakers and the companies. So to save some time, so we're not sharing every person's profile after each session. So those booklets, they're going to be distributed shortly. So we just want to go straight into our forum and presentation by both governors. So we want to invite our Governor of the Central Bank of Barbados to present first, followed by the Governor of the Central Bank of Kenya. Thank you very much. Okay. Your mic, yeah. Okay. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Hello? Are you hearing me? Yes. Okay. Yes, I was saying that I detect that enthusiasm among everyone, and I think that augurs well for what we hope to achieve. Because this really is an attempt to breathe some life into the commitments that our Prime Minister and the Kenyan President made back in 2019 to establish a foundation for increased cooperation between our respective countries. And it also builds on the 2019 visit that Governor Joroge had to discuss mutual areas of cooperation and collaboration, and to strengthen bilateral ties and create strong linkages between Kenya and Barbados. Now, clearly, as we see, the the commitment of our leaders really form a part of a broader thrust to strengthen economic and cultural links between the African continent and CARICOM. And progressing their vision requires much more than the meetings we've had at the level of public sector officials. It really demands the interface, it demands the interface of our people whose daily lives we seek to improve and who make the trade and investment decisions that drive economic activity, create jobs, and earn foreign exchange. It is through this interaction that we can build on our respective strengths to achieve our mutual objective of sustainable growth and prosperity for our populations. So as our respective private sectors, both Kenyan and Barbadian, seek to harness the energy of our leaders and influence the actual outcomes, I think that bilateral visits of this kind can be invaluable in advancing that vision. Regrettably, our earlier initiatives to bring you together were delayed by the disruption caused by COVID, which, as you know, has undermined healthcare systems everywhere and beset our economies, although to different degrees. For while it has reduced economic activity, jobs, and trade globally, its impact on small tourism-dependent economies like our own has been especially acute. I know that in Africa, the broader African economy has contracted by approximately 2% last year. I think the Kenyan economy was more or less flat. But several of our Caribbean economies, including Barbados, actually declined by double digits. And that is because we are so heavily dependent on tourism. Obviously, Kenya has a much more diversified economy, and that is something to which we, even given our small size, needs to aspire to be able to diversify to a greater extent the economy such that we are not totally reliant on one sector. It's not that we will give up on tourism, but it means that we have to broaden our economic base so that we do not suffer these types of very large drops in economic activity that we did during 2020. Because it's not just the hotel sector that suffered, it's all of the other ancillary sectors that were really impacted. Restaurants, duty-free shopping, car rentals, real estate. All of these sectors were impacted, and that transferred itself across the broader economy such that, with the increased unemployment that arose and the reduction in incomes, you had a reduced spending, and you also had that some of the investments that we had hoped for were actually delayed. So I just say this to provide some context to what we have had to endure coming out of COVID. But as the minister alluded to earlier, there are positives that have come out of that exercise, because what we will be able to see is the resilience of the people. And I think, I believe that if you get to move around, you will perhaps not think that this is an economy that suffered an 18% decline last year, but one that has been able to show resilience. Part of it, obviously, is because we were able to strengthen the social safety net. But I think the resilience of our private sector also in being able to unearth new business opportunities in the midst of COVID has also helped to strengthen where we are at this point in time. The one other point that I would want to make, because for you it's to understand where we are as a people, and our economy, we have a fixed exchange rate, which many economies don't. And that fixed exchange rate has to be supported by our foreign exchange earnings. And so even though we had the big decline in tourism last year, our import reserve cover has actually gone up. And that's been partly because we are in a fund program where we've been able to unlock, we've been able to unlock resources from the multilateral financial institutions, and that has helped to build our reserve cover. So now our reserve cover is like over 40 weeks compared to just about 5 weeks just 3 years ago. So you can see that while we've had the economic shock, we've also been able to try and stabilize the critical variables in our economy because the fixed exchange rate is very important for us. We have begun to see in 2021, we've begun to see the recovery. I think in the second quarter, and we're processing our third quarter data, but we believe that we will also see a further extension of that recovery into the third quarter, notwithstanding the fact that global travel has not returned to where it was before COVID, and obviously that is delaying the pace of the recovery, but the good news is that we're beginning to see that recovery taking place. Now, while we're recovering, we remain committed to implementing structural reforms that will be able to accelerate growth over the medium term. Because I think as investors, that's really what you want to see. You want to see an economy that is growing and is ripe for investment, an economy in which you can sell your products. We know that Africa is doing very well. Kenya is doing very well. So we want to be able, as the minister alluded, to be able to tap in to your markets, and I'm sure you want to be able to tap into our markets. And we see that over the medium term, our growth prospects will improve. So we want to see last year as really an anomaly, and the recovery this year is a little bit slow, but we believe that as we get into 2022, we'll be able to accelerate our growth and be able to bring more innovation so as to be able to get new products, new services, and out of this, new markets. I firmly believe that strengthening cooperation between our two countries, therefore, and indeed our two regions, will assist us in tackling the challenges that we face. And this forum will provide an opportunity for us to deepen the dialogue, to share experiences, to build on our existing relations, and to create an environment that facilitates outward and inward investment, innovation, and entrepreneurship. Now, we all know, and the minister alluded to it just now, that the absence of direct air connections has been a problem in the past. The continent remains logistically very difficult for us to access in the Caribbean. And despite our historic ties, it remains a vast unknown to many of us. A few of our enterprising citizens, as you know, have ventured there to make a living. But for many of us, it has only been a sentimental attachment driven by our bond to a distant motherland, or what seems like a distant motherland. Now, the soccer fanatics among us Barbadians are very supportive of African football and the footballers in the international competitions. But I must tell you that, or remind you of a very painful and unpleasant experience that we in the Caribbean had in 1996, when the Kenyan cricket team embarrassed our regional team in a sport in which we thought that we had a comparative advantage. That triumph, though, was symbolic of what can be achieved with motivation, application, and innovation. And the wider African continent, which has faced economic challenges in the past, has in recent years applied these precepts and experienced robust economic growth by leveraging its population, which is now approaching 1.4 billion, its mineral resource endowments, by adopting technologies, and critically by strengthening your institutions. So we see Kenya as a clear leader in this African revival, and its success, it creates potential markets for local business into what is, as I pointed out, largely untapped market. And if you try to put some sort of numbers or context to it, because we are tourism dependent, but our tourist arrivals from African countries in 2019 totaled 1,692. Now, we get about over 700,000 tourists, but only 1,692 came from Africa, of which Kenya accounted for 193. Second only to Nigeria, which I think is over 900 tourists that we get out of Africa. And from a trading perspective, our trade data indicates that in 2019, we imported approximately $6.2 million, that's 3.1 million US, from the continent, of which less than 20,000 US was sourced from Kenya. And our imports of goods from the continent represent just 0.2% of total imports. So to me, there is an opportunity for us to diversify not only our production base, but also the source of the goods that we actually purchase to strengthen what I would say is South-South cooperation. And our exports to the continent was approximately $2 million. Kenya's share was just $4,000, and that's Barbados dollars. So that puts in context to how limited the trade between our nations has been so far, but it also speaks to the possibility of trying to tap into this potential that clearly exists. We recognize that entering new markets can be challenging. We do have to address the airlink issue between the continent and Barbados, because we believe that that can be pivotal to advancing trade and investment, as access through travel links will open prospects for increased trade and broaden the linkages of our cultural industries, education services, etc. And as you listened to our minister earlier, he outlined a number of areas in which he believes that we can cooperate and do business. And such links will also be vital to improving the tourism trade in both directions and enable us to take advantage of the growing middle class in Kenya and other countries. And I do know, we heard that Kenya Airlines is here, that there are ongoing efforts to make the idea of travel links between this region and the continent happen. Now, during our discussions in 2019, we identified several opportunities for enhancing trade relations between our two countries. Kenya being a member of the East African Community Customs Union, we believe that the DTA, to which the minister spoke, can open additional avenues for trade and investment for Barbados with other member states of the East African Community, the Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa, and Africa as a whole through the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. And to complement this framework, we are currently exploring opportunities for financing trade and investment flows between the region and Africa, and facilitating access to portals that will make access to investment regulations and information much easier. These discussions obviously are an embryonic stage, but they do offer the prospect of providing a framework for strengthening South-South trade between the two regions. I just want to touch on two other areas that we discussed back in 2019. I think the minister alluded to both of them this morning. One is renewable energy. We have a long tradition with solar water heaters. You see most homes in Barbados that are being built, you will see a solar water heater on top of them. And this goes back, I think, to the 1970s. And we've been able to build that as an industry, and we think that creates an opportunity for outward investment. And we have a very ambitious 2030 target of being fossil-free. We begin to make some progress. I think, obviously, there's a lot more work to be done, but that is something that we have committed to, both from a climate change perspective, but also from an economic management perspective, because as you know, oil prices tend to fluctuate, and we are often on the end of the rising oil prices, and therefore that creates the possibility of reducing our import bill and also being able to help to make our firms more competitive as they go forward. And we believe that that is an area in which, because Kenya also has an interest in that is an area in which we can collaborate and share experiences. And of course, it would be remiss of me if I didn't mention financial services, having the governor next to me, and I'm sure he will want to say something more on that. But Kenya has made its mark in that area, and that is something in which we also want to be able to get greater financial inclusion. Most of our citizens are banked, but there are some who I would say are underbanked, and we see the movement towards mobile transactions as being something that has to be encouraged, and therefore that is a discussion that we have started with you, because we believe that that will also help to increase access, as I said, for the underbanked, but also to reduce the costs of financial services, which is a very important aspect to what we want. So whereas I think in Kenya, when you started, it was that you had a very large underclass of underbanked persons. I think ours will now be, how can we reduce the costs of financial services, which you know, there are lots of complaints about, and we want to be able to address that particular issue. So in closing, I believe that our two countries have the potential to strengthen South-South cooperation, to enable market diversification, both directions, and that I believe is necessary for sustainable growth. And through this forum, I think the new alliances can be formed as we begin the process of better understanding each other. And I trust, therefore, that all of the participants will find today and tomorrow's discussions useful. The minister set a target of US 50 million by 2025. And I think if we are able to move with some expedition, that is within our sights if we move quickly to identify the opportunities and then to be able to build on them. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The Governor of the Central Bank of Kenya to share his perspective on the economic opportunities between the two economies. Thank you.
Thank you very much, MC, but Cabinet Secretary, Karibu Sana, Barbados, and thank you for your remarks. And of course, ambassadors, also the minister that spoke to us, and my dear brother, the governor of the Central Bank of Barbados. We are delighted to be here, and thank you very much for the very kind and indeed very warm words of welcome from yourself and the others. You know, Ambassador, High Commissioner, I need to correct you a bit. You talked of us as being Rafiki, brothers. No, friends. That is the Swahili word for friends. And this is not a major blow, but in the words of the Prime Minister, Mia Motley, at Kenya's 56th independence anniversary, that was in December, on December 12, 2019, and I quote, she said, "Know in Kenya that Barbados is a second home for you. Know in Kenya that the Caribbean is your second home for you. Know in Kenya that your brothers and sisters in the Caribbean will stand together with you for those causes that unite us because our values are similar," end quote. So we have not felt just friends. We felt very much at home as brothers and sisters, sharing, as was mentioned, a common heritage and indeed a common vision for how we expect ourselves, our people, to move forward in the brave new world, and indeed how we intend to assert our positions in the international fora, etc. And I also want to thank you again, Governor, and indeed every one of you who welcomed us here back in September of 2019. And the hospitality, I think we again felt very much at home. But as Governor, you said we made a lot of progress. There wasn't that sort of, a lot of work needed to be done, and we did it in a very short time. And I think the effects of that, the benefits of that are now being seen, including this meeting or this forum that has been long in coming. Actually, it was supposed to have taken place in January of 2020. But then there was the delay to February, and then obviously Corona was very much with us, and that didn't happen. But we are here. But I want to go back to the visit of the Prime Minister and her delegation when she came to Kenya in December of 2019. And as part of that visit, the Central Bank of Kenya organized an exhibition entitled FinTech in the Savannah, and where the Prime Minister interacted with innovators from Kenyan banks, the telecom sector, fintechs, and I was amazed at the Prime Minister's high-level ownership of the potential innovations that were being shown to her. So the impact of that and how they could be, let's say, scaled in Barbados. And there were several. Of course, she was shown the M-Pesa sort of what has happened, the history of that. Also, some of the banks demonstrated some of the products that they have done amazingly well in Kenya in terms of improving financial inclusion. And again, it's not just inclusion, as the governor reminded us, it's actually use of those products. And also in terms of the fintechs that we presented to them. And one particular fintech, Quara, the representative, the CEO is here in the group. This caught her attention, caught the Prime Minister's attention. Really what they have is a banking grade platform that enables savings and credit unions, we call them SACCOs, or credit unions as they are referred to here in Barbados, to digitize their operations through a subscription cloud-based solution without having to acquire expensive new software and hardware. So basically, using this platform, just like that, the cost of doing business of the SACCO just drops. And this is really what the governor mentioned a moment ago. Sure, they are banked in some ways, but the cost of banking is therefore very high. And therefore, their benefit financially and how they use their money, their dollar really isn't going very far. And this will allow them to go even further. And of course, there's also another fintech, young fintech that caught the Prime Minister's eye. And this is Lami. And we also have the CEO of that fintech here with us. And it's really an insurance technology sort of company or platform, or really providing digital insurance to to anybody who would be coming in. Well, I'll let them explain this to them. They'll explain it obviously much better than me. In effect, it democratizes insurance, a big issue for all of us in our sort of domain, where insurance is a big, let's say, expensive, and actually a lot of our people don't do too much insurance. Now, we are not just talking health insurance, we are talking all sorts of other things, even microinsurance, tiny. Anyway, this innovation somehow caught the eye of the Prime Minister. And at one point, she was supposed to go and visit the national park, and the long story is that she spent most of her time in this fintech, in the Savannah sort of exhibition. It got almost dark, and she had to go to the national park just to say, I've been to the national park. But it was already dark. So yes, High Commissioner has to do the job of being there for 17 hours, on her behalf, and that's okay. So that was, but I think the point here is the vision of the Prime Minister. And this is really the one thing that really amazes me, the vision that she has. And it is really the same vision that our president has. And somehow they have that connection. And when they talk, and I'm pretty sure when they'll talk to us at the right time, you'll see that commonality. And it isn't just, it is more about how to provide prosperity to our people, and in all these ways. And I think this is really why we are here. We are not here to, quote unquote, do business. We will do business, but actually it is bringing the countries together and our people together, providing them with more opportunities. Because at the end of the day, it is the opportunities that will make a difference. We've seen that in the context of COVID. Sure, we had that, all of us were hit in all sorts of ways, and lives and livelihoods have been changed dramatically in those 18 months that we've been through this doom and gloom. And at the same time, the resilience of the human spirit has shone right through all this darkness. And I think we see this as sort of like green shoots that are shooting through the field. And we are now at a point where we have really reduced our thinking to the bare essentials. So I think maybe it is good that we delay this visit for 18 months, because now we are sharper. We understand what unites us. Things about, I was talking yesterday to some of our, let's say, industrialists. And 2 years ago, if you talk to them, they'll be telling you about the supply chains. They are getting things from China. They are getting this. Today now, they are desperately trying to get alternatives for those supply chains that they were so sure about. Because the cost and reliability of those supply chains has really been called to question. So I think the point here is that we are at the beginning of something great, particularly distilled in that crucible of 18 months or 2 years, almost 2 years of pain, gloom, and indeed the human spirit that has shown in all this. I mentioned this point that Kenya and Barbados, we have this, it's amazing that among all the possible permutations of economic and cultural cooperations, Kenya and Barbados have come together. It's amazing. I mean, it could be of the world, 200 countries in the world, there are multiple possibilities, almost, of having two countries. But why have we come together in this one? And again, the point that was made about common heritage and this vision of a shared prosperity. And there are a few points I want to make on this, pretty much adding to what the governor said, what the CS said, and indeed what the minister said in his presentation. The first is this point about cooperation, that cooperating in order to create opportunities for equitable growth. That is important. I mean, doing it alone doesn't work anymore. And I think this is one of the points that I think both our leaders have underscored in the international fora that they have spoken to, not just recently, but have re-emphasized again and again, the importance of cooperation. So here we are as business communities engaging and cooperating in things that you could say we have comparative advantage and you have comparative advantage, or maybe we didn't know we had comparative advantage and coming here tells us, hey, actually you have comparative advantage in this. And I think this is one of the points that has resonated so well with us. Now, I would say, for instance, in the context of central banks actually cooperate quite a bit. I mean, we are very much brothers and sisters. And when we meet, we talk like brothers and sisters. We show our cards. And I think there's a lot more of that needs to be done in the business communities. And that's how we, in effect, help each other with our knowledge. The second point is that we are very much in the long game. Now, dear Governor, yes, I don't remember that, but I have read about that incident, the long game, right? It was in Pune or someplace like that, right? And actually, when I traveled in the Caribbean in the past, this was often my starting point, to sort of destabilize people, And I think those that remember that game, that were alive then, they'll tell you, yeah, it was quite remarkable and indeed kind of shattering in terms of the Windies, the local team here, how after that major loss. In effect, it's similar to ourselves losing in the marathon to a tiny little country in, wherever it is, So that was painful. But I think we are in the long game. Here we are into cricket, and we in Kenya are into the marathon. But more than just the long game in a sense, it is the training, the team spirit, and the endurance that you need to actually do well in these games, in cricket or the marathon, etc. So in effect, in the short term, we need to put in place the important, let's say, underpinnings, the foundation. And that's why we are here today, to put in place those starting blocks so that we can build a huge enterprise, we can build a huge enterprise that will be sustained through time, generations, etc. A third point, which I think is important to note, is we are very much pro the private sector. So in effect, so our economy in Kenya is driven by the private sector. There's no other way. It's the private sector, and the same here is the private sector in particular is that makes investments, decisions, etc. And therefore, it is important to create the right environment for for the private sector to thrive. So even as we get excited about a particular innovation or a particular company, etc., at the end of the day, we want to be rules-based, not providing discretion, but rather rules-based so that anybody else can come in if they follow those rules. And also, we want to support innovation. So we don't want to stifle innovation. We want, particularly in the financial sector, we've made it ourselves as the regulator, the central bank, we've made it very clear that we will not stifle innovation. What we want to do is to make sure that is to provide sort of regulations so as to minimize or to protect ourselves against financial instability. So financial stability concerns, etc. And that is important. But at the same time, we do not want a private sector that is, just focused on profit, right? So we've had a lot of concerns in other places about big techs. And it isn't just big techs. In the olden days, it used to be mining companies that would come and, create environmental disasters, etc., without paying anybody for all the materials, primary commodities that they have taken away, etc. So we want the private sector also to make sure that they are not only good citizens, but they are in this for the long haul as well, that they are playing the long game as well. A fourth point is that we want to be technology-driven or driven by technology. In terms of growth, it will come from technology. This is a tool that now we have. And it's amazing because it will actually, it will allow us to leapfrog in all sorts of ways. We've already leapfrogged in the area of financial inclusion and other things. But I think taken widely, there are many areas, and the room is filled with people that are really focused on this, yes, we will move forward. We've done digitalization, but we also want to use technology to empower the citizens. So, and I think you'll hear conversations about that, what we are doing in Kenya. It's, in my view, sort of just the starting point. We are still at, the 10% into this, what should be a very exciting journey of digitizing the citizens. But I think actually Barbados has a better chance of that, of getting to 100%, because they are a smaller country in terms of the numbers of people, etc. So the problem is much smaller as opposed to 50 million people in Kenya, etc. But that's something that is obviously very important. We'll come back to that in a minute. Lastly, on this point, I think it is important to acknowledge that we have deep pride in who we are and what we can do. And I think it is something that you say it is very Caribbean. definitely, the people that have interacted here in Barbados, they strike me with the same sort of vibe. And the Kenyans are pretty much the same. I mean, they take great pride in what we have done and what we can do as Kenyans. I mean, that pride, I think, is very important. Now, I say this, but I want to throw out a few examples. In the banking area, which obviously I know a lot more about, we can talk about Barclays or Scotiabank, right? And most of us will understand the histories of those banks. But I think very quickly, in my view, we do need to what about KCB? What about Equity? Haven't those banks done phenomenal in terms of our jurisdictions? And haven't they done even more than, let's say, those foreign banks have done? I mean, the foreign banks have a history in other jurisdictions, but in our own jurisdiction. So I think we need to maybe take greater pride in what we have and what we've done and what our institutions have acquired or have done. And as I say, they have been instrumental in the financial inclusion story. And it's not that they are at the end of the journey. No, not at all. And indeed, they are a useful model. And they can apply those ideas and approaches here in Barbados and indeed in the wider Caribbean. So there's something there that can be, let's say, replicated or scaled, as most people generally say. Another story is the M-Pesa story. Of course, everybody talks about this out there, Unquestionably, the leader in mobile money. But then again, can this, not story, but this sort of idea be cloned, or should we say replicated in this jurisdiction and scaled appropriately? Not necessarily bringing all of Safaricom, but those elements that are relevant and that can be managed, and also using, let's say, our experience in regulating the institutions in this space, and those ideas that can quickly be brought to us. Now, and I think the people, the principals in KCB, Equity, M-Pesa, Safaricom, they are in the room, and I'm sure in the course of the next 2 days, they'll engage. And for me, it isn't just engaging for the next 2 days. They'll be back in whichever way and actually they've been here before us, before the president arrived. Equity, the chairman of Equity, who is here, he joined us, and also KCB, they mentioned they were recognized. They were already here, working with your teams, working with the people, and I'm sure they'll continue in this way. Then, of course, I mentioned the fintechs. And in my view, they do have a value, let's say, proposition that can actually transform your SACCO, your credit union. And I'm very excited because they have actually done that in other jurisdictions, and both in terms of the SACCOs, but also insurance. And I'm sure they'll present themselves. And we Kenyans are also in a run. We're also hungry, right? We need to move quickly. The marathon, it's a marathon, but you also want to be number one. So you don't want to lose pace. And I understand one of the fintechs, their objective is actually to incorporate before this trip is over. So not only will they be talking to their counterparts, but at the end of the next 2-3 days, there will be an institution that they will leave behind that will actually continue that conversation. And so you can see we are actually moving quite fast. You mentioned, Governor, the renewable energy. And I think that's something we need to learn from you, your experience, and indeed this is a major this is a major area that I think we need to take home, and there are people in the room that will discuss this with you. But there's the other side of it, which is not just solar, but also geothermal. And on geothermal, I think we have lessons that can be learned, can be brought in here. We have KenGen. And KenGen is an interesting one because of all places, we are sort of doing this geothermal thing. Of all places, Kenya has become a leader in geothermal drilling technology. They are now drilling also in Ethiopia, I understand. And I think also they are training the Chinese, of all people, in this technology. So it is in effect like an M-Pesa, right? The way M-Pesa became our brand and etc. And we are teaching the world that. I actually had a great time once I was invited to speak at the French Treasury, so in those high vaulted places. I don't know what I was speaking about, but the conversation ended up being on M-Pesa. And frankly, there I was explaining to them, this is an institution, the French Treasury has been around for I don't know how many hundreds of years, since Napoleon's time, etc. And there I am explaining to them, the way this thing works. And I felt really great pride in just explaining this. I also had a great time explaining it to Janet Yellen. So over breakfast, you sort of pull out the phone and say, if I want to send my mother money, this is what I do. And, sort of send my mother money right there in front. And ding, she gets it. My point is that there are many innovations, and also in terms of KenGen, in terms of drilling for this geothermal. And this is something that I think in the Caribbean, there's a great need for that. I do remember my own experiences in Dominica, much smaller, and actually they have a great need for energy. So I think there's a lot of that. Of course, at the end of the day, you do need the connection in terms of travel, tourism. We talked about KQ, but KQ won't come empty. And maybe the model of KQ was we need to first have cargo. Maybe they need to sort of figure out what is the right model here. Because we do need, as you see, the issue here will be we need to begin with services, particularly because of the distance. I mean, services is where we are going to get the connections. Then the other things will come, the sort of merchandise trade. If you want kikapus, we can send you those baskets and things, but I don't think the baskets are the ones that are more exciting, like all the human sort of ideas that will be flowing back and forth, and the companies that are set up here. We haven't even begun scratching the surface. We haven't talked about health and hospitality sort of connections, because here in Barbados you have a lot of that. You have nursing, training of nursing, etc. I mean, we've just begun to scratch the surface in terms of the connections that can be done. But I think we have the right people in the room, in both rooms now, to begin the conversation. I want to finish, and I'm sorry I've spoken for a bit too long, but I think in finishing, I would want to underscore that we are prepared to walk with you, sharing our own experiences, challenges, and learning from you as well. It is important to explain what your challenges and difficulties are, but you only do that to a brother or a sister, because then you are in a safe sort of environment. And this is why I say for us as governors, we share a lot because we know we are in a safe environment. And I think it's the same, this has to be put out there. Obviously appreciating our common heritage and the vision of shared prosperity. I think the point I would underscore is time is not on our side. And the Prime Minister says, and I quote, "Don't run a sprint. Pretend it's marathon." It's the marathon. And of course, as we were reminded, if you want to go far, you need to go together with somebody else. And I think this is the journey we are on. We are on a marathon. We've already started this journey, and we will work together. But as I finish, I want to tell a story, a brief story. I've told this story before. You know, years ago in 2015, 2016, on off, okay. Be at a conference with other ministers from the East African community. And there was this older gentleman who had been a minister, much older, and been a minister for I don't know how many years, etc. And we kind of stuck up a friendship, and I was with him pretty much throughout the conference. And at one point, he told me this story. He'd been somewhere and years before, and he saw this old man planting coconuts. And sort of asked him, hey, what are you doing? And I mean, I hope you know you're not going to eat from these coconuts, meaning that you're planting. The farmer turned to him and said, yes, I know that. And actually, I eat from these coconuts that I planted. And then the minister turned to me to underscore the lesson, and he said, society is at its best when we plant. We know we will not. That's something we are doing today. We will eat some of the coconuts, I'm sure. We are planting the coconuts today. We eat some. Be clear, the real coconuts will be coming for generations after us. So this is when the society is at its best. So thank you very much, and I look forward to your engagement.
Okay, thank you very much, governors, for that enlightening presentation by both of you. We would have loved to go into questions if you had any, but you can save those questions for later. But right now, what we would do in order to catch up on time is that we would take break immediately. So why don't you just put your hands together for both governors for those really fantastic presentations. I would take break immediately, so we just ask the governors if they can just exit to the stage. I know you, Governor Haynes, have a presentation to go to right away. So we wanted to make sure that you can get out to head towards your appointment as well. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, governors. Yeah. So we can go straight to break, and then we're going to ask the first row to go to break, and then when we come back, we will start at 11 o'clock. And the program will be changed around a bit to facilitate the Invest Barbados presentation, along with the Kenyan Investment Authority's presentation as well. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so you can head to break. It's just a short 15-minute break, and we join back together at 11 o'clock. So those of you who are in the overflow room, you can come out and you can begin to mingle with your respective Kenyan business colleague so that we can get to know each other a little better as we continue to share these 2 days together. Okay, so Minister, you can head out and join, have a coffee, and refresh yourself. Kenyan coffee. Thank you very much.